Dua Tawassul, followed by very informative segments. I will first give the agenda or rundown of today's program, and then inshallah we'll begin. So for today's program, the agenda starts with Dua Faraj, followed by Dua Tawassul that will be recited by Mrs. Amra Heather. Afterwards, we have a segment by Sister Zainab Sajjad, who will be speaking about the art of metal embossing. Afterwards, we will have Mrs. Nuzhat Hassan, who will be speaking about iPhone tips and tricks for the beginners. And afterwards, we will have Mankabat session recited by Melanie Raza, which will be followed by vote of thanks and closing. I would like to mention this to all of our audience that you can post your comments and questions on our Facebook and YouTube pages, where you can also watch this program live. The YouTube and Facebook pages of Imamia Medics International, the link for which you should be able to find in the section below. I would also like to mention at the opening of the program that we have been following this series for the past few months, but for the next 2 months we will be holding the sessions due to in respect of Muharram. So first of all, to begin with today's program according to its rundown, I would start with Dua Faraj, and I request all of you to recite with me. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kulli waliyaka al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaihi. بهذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. I once again welcome all the audience and participants who have joined us for tonight's program. And I would like to mention once again that you are open to post your comments and questions on the Facebook and YouTube pages of Imamia Medics International. Now I would like to invite our today's first segment host, that is Mrs. Amra Heather. I would first like to introduce her. She is the chair of the Illness Support Group of Women's Wing. Mrs. Amra Heather has her MS and MPhil in biochemistry and molecular biology. She has worked as a senior scientist at Atomic Energy Commission in the field of radiopharmaceuticals. At present, she is working as a medical scientist at Spectra East in New Jersey. She is also a Zakira Ahle Bayt since her childhood, and she has been associated for IMI for many, many years. And her contribution in the women's wing, especially illness support group, is phenomenal. So I request Mrs. Amra Haider to please join us for the recitation of Dua Tawassul. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Varda, for kind words, which I don't really deserve. Uh, I'm really gracious and feel very humble. To be honest with you, I will let everybody know that actually it is Varda who is the main sole role playing in this, especially in this session. She is the vector and she is the one who is arranging and running around for everything. Thank you, Varda, for your all effort and make it happen possible. So I welcome all of you on the ground of IMI for the session of Tuesday Reflection. Thanks to the all participants. And actually this was the month of Zulhijj. So to all of you, I extend my congratulations for Eid Mubarak and Eid Ghadir. And soon, as she already mentioned, we are moving forward towards the Ayam Azab Muharram. So to start with Dua Tawassul. Dua Tawassul is a very beautiful dua. And it is the best dua in which the Tawassul has been invoked with all the Ahlul Bayt. Sheikh Tusi says that how the Dua Tawassul started. So one of companions, Abu Muhammad, asked Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam to help him out how to do tawassul to the Ahlul Bayt. And this was the dua which was taught by Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. And it has been said that this tawassul has remedy for all the problems. So there's a lot to say about dua tawassul, but that was a brief background. And with that, inshallah, I will start reciting dua tawassul. Thank you so much for this honor. I don't have a very beautiful lehan for Arabic, but I will try my level best. Thank you. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبو القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفانا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا توسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله قدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وسيع الحسن يا خلف الهجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله قدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله ساداتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولي الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين يا رب العالمين صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل فرجه. Over to you, Varda.
Jazakallah, such a beautiful recitation, a very, very heart touching, and may Allah Ta'ala accept this deed of ours.
Ameen.
So I
Ameen.
request you, Mrs. Amra, if you would like to invite our next guest for today, that
Sure.
is Sister Zainab.
Sure. So it's my honor to invite one of our beautiful presenter, Zainab Sajjad. By profession, she is a software engineer. She is the president and owner of ZAS Solutions. She has been in corporate world for last 15 years in a leadership role. So there's so much to talk about her. She's a very talented individual. One of her talent is that she can bring the metal into reality. What is that? She do metal embossing, and she has her own studio, own gallery, which is set up. And I really want to share with all of you her talent, being a software engineer and a God-gifted talent. So her topic of presentation will be the art of metal embossing. Over to Zainab.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you so much for this beautiful introduction of mine. I do not deserve it. Thank you so much, Amra Aunty, for that. And let me give you my brief intro. Like, I'm Zainab Sajjad, and thanks, MI, to give me this opportunity that I can present myself and give you talk to you about some of the work that I've been doing. Uh, I'm a software engineer by profession, and I run my own IT solution company. And a part of being a software engineer, I'm a mom of two amazing kids and a metal embossing artist, where I turned the imagination into a reality while putting together the three-dimensional design and patterns into a metal work. Develop in my own studio that I name as like a Galavia studio. So Uh, Over to you, Verda, if you can share the PowerPoint.
Sure.
Okay, I think I've given my intro to everyone. Can you move to the next slide? Okay, so today the topic of the presentation is the art of metal embossing. How I caught into this art and what I'm developing, what is the history behind it, about what is the history or the reason behind my love and passion. I will walk you guys through with this and upcoming slides. Next, please. So this art is not something unique. It's called a unique form of art, but it's not exactly the unique. You can find this form of art everywhere. You can experience this and see around yourself when you are in Imambarga, when you are visiting the shrines of our beloved Ahlul Bayt, whenever you get a chance to do the ziyarats. And the beauty of these shrines fall in love, like I fall in love with the beauty of these shrines and make me to learn this beautiful unique form of art. The architecture of these shrines is one of the most obvious examples of the true Islamic art, I can say, that shows the spiritual atmosphere. The decorations, the motifs, the patterns, the compounds, and the coordinations of all make the view of these monuments so beautiful and spiritual. And the motives, if you see, this is example of that I put it in my deck of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. If you see the motives, the detailings in this shrine, they are the issues that has attracted the attention of the art soul lovers and some of the artists like me. The plant, they usually do the geometric motifs that it means the various field and give the chance to research and perform the analysis why these abstract form of art or these geometric motifs have been used in crafting and putting together this abstract metal art. I fact these motif and majestic decorations in these shrines are one of the most spiritual, beautiful, and attractive arts in all the religious places. And this is one of the biggest reason I fall in love and adopt this art, this field of art, as my passion. Next slide, please. Let's talk about what exactly the metal embossing or the pewter art is. So metal embossing art, it's also called the pewter art, and it's also called the repousse art in French. It's an ancient art. It still exists in the contemporary world, but it's not so common in the countries like Pakistan, I can say. It still exists in some areas of Pakistan and India, but not so common. Metal crafting and embossing, as I mentioned, are age old. It continues to be one of the most fashionable art forms to date. While we are using the different form of like embossing tools and stylus to put together and transform the thin sheet of the copper tin foil, while merges with the ancient skills with modern day mechanical methods. Since almost any shape and texture can be embossed on the metal, the sky is the limit. You can transform your imagination into the reality while putting together the piece or melting or transform the piece of metal into the beautiful three-dimensional designs and the piece of the metal art. Next slide, please. Let's deep dive into a little bit of history. I don't want to make the audience to get bored, but the origination, it's from the India. And if you see or look into the history, originally the metalsmiths in India and in those areas utilized these techniques for over 500 years to create the forms with visions or concepts into copper and tin. These non-ferrous metals were eventually mixed to form the bros. Even from this time, you can see the Indian bells, the Indian vessels they use, the decorative vessels or the luxury ware they use. Those are the handcrafted and beautiful metal work. It's embossed all around it. So this concept is derived originally from India, and the concept has been taken from there. Next slide, please. Okay, this is just a beautiful wall hanging piece I put together. It depicts the Mughal elephant Bharat uh, that I took from the Rajasthani, I can say the culture that is still exists at the third desert. So it depicts how the Bharat has happened is still in those areas where they decorate the elephants from head to toe and put together all the ornaments around the elephants. And they were trained that they have to keep a certain distance and how the Bharat going along in the certain direction. And this is just a metal piece. I put together like my imagination into this piece of art. Next slide, please. Let's talk about something about the stages, how it reflects the Islamic era. What are the stages of Islamic metalwork? So I can say during the Abbasis Caliphate in the ninth century, when Baghdad became the focus of the Muslim world, and the city attracted the artists, the poets, and the musicians from all over the Arab world. During that period, the brass, which was cheap at that time and durable and easily worked and mass produced, was used extensively, both for everyday utensils and for the luxury wear. The best brassware was made in Khorasan in the eastern Iraq during that era, and from where the adoption of this metalwork starts. After that, during the era of Chinggis Khan, during the era of Chinggis Khan and his Mongol army. They invented in northern eastern in Iraq, where they laid the base to renowned metal workshops of Khorasan, and they put together, and that becomes like the craftsman centers for the production of fine metalwork, where they craft the metalwork and introduce the metalwork during that era. And later on, it was adopted by the Egyptians and the Syrians in the 13th to 15th century, and where the great Islamic, or I can say the rebirth of the Islamic metal art, is best known from that era, and where the beautiful bronze vessels and precious the metal art pieces was start taking place or was built by the Muslims in Egypt and in Syria. Next slide, please. So this is one of my Egyptian-inspired work. You can see the pharaoh box. It depicts like how the Egyptian pharaohs they're ready or making themselves ready for the worship, and on the other side you can see a Egyptian-inspired pharaoh table. So again, it's the blend of the Egyptian, and you can see some of the motifs around it. So it's a blend of the Turkish design. I put together the Turkish motifs along with the Egyptian pharaohs in this metalwork. So the whole idea of sharing after every other slide of some of my artwork is to see how it was adopted, what are the stages, and how it still exists in this world with a beautiful blend of different civilization in this modern era too. Next slide, please. Uh, it's it's an ancient art, as I mentioned, but it still exists in the contemporary world, but not so common in the Pakistan and in other countries. And it's very hard to find the instructors who can train the people on this specific art. So my love towards and my passion towards this art uh, made me to visit to Pakistan, and found finally I was able to find an instructor who taught me this ancient art, and it took me 6 months to learn this beautiful art, and I worked for 6 months with that instructor, and was able to put together some beautiful metal pieces. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned that it's an ancient art, so the tools are still not available. It does not exist. It's not easily available everywhere, especially in the US. So when I was learning this piece of art, so I worked with a carpenter to put together a piece of wood or the special embossing tool that is pointed towards both the end to draft or to perform the embossing. So certain techniques are involved, certain tricks are involved, certain finger pressures are involved in putting together this metal pieces. They're completely like a new world of, I say, terminologies. Being a software engineer, my world is totally different. If I say the terminology, even the dictionary is totally different. But being work as a metal embossed artist, it's totally different. I learned how to impose, how to deboss, how to put like a pressure, the finger pressure, what are embossed impressions, where to apply the right technique, where not to apply the right technique. So all these things. So what usually we do we usually cut the pieces of sheet. You can see I'm working on some of the sheets, the thin piece of metal foil sheets. You can put the required design or pattern of your choice on these sheets, then you put the hot glue, fill in those motifs, and then you can paste it with on any sort of material you want. You can use the wood as a base, you can use any sort of steel or any sort of material that is compatible, and whatever you like, you can put it and bring it into the beautiful shape. The whole idea of putting the things or this presentation or present it with the platform of IMI is to inspire everyone that if I can do it, being a mom of two kids and being in the corporate world, 9 to 5 job, I follow my dream. And after proving that, okay, I'm a software engineer, I love to be an artist, uh, but I wasn't like permitted to become an artist. I was like allowed only to become a doctor or an engineer. I proved, okay, I'm a successful engineer. But at this point of time, I want to do something that I can unwind myself. I feel good about it, and it's give me a sense of like satisfaction. So if I can do it, everyone can do it. So this is the end of my presentation, and at the end, I really want you to have a glimpse of my studio. That is the Globia studio. So, Wardha, if you can play that little slideshow. Thanks everyone for your attention and interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Zainab. That was so interesting, and I hope it was very much inspiring for our audience. For me, it was really inspiring. And kudos to all the great work that you're doing. Over to you, Mrs. Amra. I would like to request you to please take on from here.
Thank you so much, Zainab, for your participation. It was not only very impressive, it is a marvelous work. And as you said, the imagination can come to reality. But the best part, I like it that you were most impressed by the shrines of Ahlul and you started doing your work from that. And then you came to know all the background of the history of this art. And we are not impressed only by your studio, but also by learning all the history, that how it came into existence. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. There is a talent so much in our community. We are so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving to the next, right further
Yeah, sure.
to the next presentation. So our next presenter, the IMI is a really very good, you can say, a ground from where we can develop our talents. And they are very encouraging all the time, and they are very helpful. You name it, you ask them, and they are always there for you. So our next person who is going to present is Nuzhat Ara. She is a co-chair of the perennial group of Women Wing of IMI. She is also very talented. She is very well known in the community for the recitation of Marcia and Manqabat. And I think that is what actually the lover Ahlul Bayt brings you to a very peak of success. So that was the first thing I learned about her. And now she is doing a lot of things. As a career, she is a senior cardiac sonographer in a leading university hospital. She is also active, licensed aesthetic sense from aesthetic sense, actually esthetician, and she is a insurance broker. She also is on top of it. She also runs Mercy Academy and technology awareness channels. So for all these presenters, there are so many things to talk about, but it will be over to Nuzhat. Today, she is going to give us the iPhone tip and tricks for the beginners. Over to you, Nuzhat.
Assalamu alaikum and thank you so much, Amra Baji. That was lovely. थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही हो गया कुछ मेरे लिए लेकिन टाइम क्योंकि शॉर्ट है तो मैं बताती चलूँ आपको, जिस लिए आज मैं यहाँ पे इनवाइटेड हूँ।
जी, प्लीज गो ऑन।
अच्छा, जिस लिए आज मैं यहाँ पे इनवाइटेड हूँ वो इस प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर, और मैं पर्सनली भी क्योंकि ये टाइम है बहुत ही शॉर्ट और सोशल मीडिया पे भरमार है हर चीज़ की, जो जैसे कि मेरे इंट्रोडक्शन के साथ टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स ऑफ आईफोन के यूज़ के आपने देखा होगा, तो उसको मैं आज बताऊंगी और थोड़ा सा वीडियो आपको जो है वो वर्दा प्ले करके दिखाएंगी। तो क्योंकि टाइम शॉर्ट होता है और हमारे पास इतना टाइम नहीं था, वैसे तो भरमार है सोशल मीडिया के ऊपर, लाखों वीडियोस आपको मिलेंगी, लेकिन जो हमारी घरेलू ख़वातीन समझ सके, तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि मुझे कुछ करना चाहिए उन ख़वातीन के लिए या उन घरेलू अफराद के लिए, उनमें मेंस भी शामिल हैं, जिनकी अप्रोच इन चीज़ों तक नहीं है, जो नहीं उन वीडियोस तक पहुंच सकते, प्ले कर सकते और उनसे सीख सकते। तो इस लाइक और फिर राइट टाइम में, शॉर्ट टाइम में टारगेटेड वीडियो तक पहुंचना इज़ नॉट इजी फॉर मी ईदर, कि कौन सी कम टाइम में मैं डेफिनेटली एक वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव वीडियो निकाल के देखूं, तो हज़ारों वीडियोस हैं वहाँ पे सोशल मीडिया पे, ऐसा नहीं कि कोई मेरी पहली है, लेकिन छोटी सी काविश है कि अगर जो बहुत ही आसान ज़बान में, मैंने क्योंकि ज़्यादातर उसको उर्दू में किया है, ताकि वो ख़वातीन जिनकी अप्रोच नहीं है सोशल मीडिया तक या वो ढूंढ नहीं सकती इस टाइप की वीडियोस, उनको ये समझ में आए तो वो यूज़ कर सकें फ़ोन को, क्योंकि हमारे पास गैजेट्स हैं, हमारे पास एंड्रॉयड हैं, आईफोन्स हैं, लेकिन हमें इवन हम जो घर की, जो मैं लोगों की बात कर रही हूँ, प्रोफेशनली भी आप अगर देखें तो बहुत सी जगहों पे प्रोफेशनल्स जो हैं वो सही से अभी तक यूज़ नहीं कर पाते हैं उनको, हालांकि पूरा काम हम लोग फ़ोन पे कर सकते हैं, बैंकिंग, बिलिंग, आपकी अपनी पेमेंट्स, अपना जो भी काम, इवन स्टॉक वगैरह का भी आप सब उस पे कर सकते हैं, और फिर काफ़ी यूज़फुल है। अगर आप कुछ सीखना भी चाह रहे हैं उसको, तो उसके लिए भी वो बहुत ज़्यादा यूज़फुल है। लेकिन क्योंकि हमारी ज़बान में और आसान ज़बान में, अगर میں ٹیکنیکل ورڈز یوز کروں تو شاید وہ ٹرمنالوجی جو ہے وہ عام زبان کی یا جو خواتین یا جو حضرات گھر میں بیٹھے ہیں وہ شاید اتنی آسانی سے ان کو سمجھ نہ پائیں. تو مجھے لگا کہ تھوڑی سی مجھے یہ ٹائم جو ہے اس کو یوز کر کے ان خواتین کے لیے چھوٹی چھوٹی ویڈیوز بنا کے ٹپس اور ٹرکس کے طور کے اوپر، کیونکہ پورے مضمون، اور آپ کو پتہ ہے سوشل میڈیا کا دور ہے، ویوز اور ویڈیو کے بعد آپ ایک چیز آپ کو ملتی ہے کام کی. تو اس شارٹ ٹائم کے لیے میں نے پورے ایسے وغیرہ بنانے سے بہتر ہے یا 2 گھنٹے کی یا 10-20 منٹ کی ویڈیوز بنانے سے میں نے اس کو ٹپس اور ٹرکس کے اوپر رکھا ہے. تو اب آپ میرے خیال میں آپ دیکھیں، وہ آپ کو وردہ پلے کریں گی ویڈیوز، اور اگر آپ کو اچھا لگے گا، آپ کی طرف سے فیڈ بیک آئے گا، تو پھر ہم اس کو کنٹینیو کر کے جب بھی آپ چاہیں گے میں آپ کو اس میں ہیلپ کر سکتی ہوں. ویسے آپ لوگ کال کر سکتے ہیں 800-nusrat.com پہ. تو میری عادت ہے مذاق کرنے کی، نیو جرسی کے لوگ مجھے جانتے ہیں، تو اس میں آپ لوگ سیکھ سکتے ہیں. اچھے فیڈ بیک دیں گے تو میں ضرور ایسی اور ویڈیوز بنا کے ڈالوں گی. وردہ ٹو یو.
آج میں آپ کے سامنے ایک نوحہ رائٹ اپس کی ایک ایپ ہے جو کہ بہت ہی یوزفل ہے، اس کو شیئر کروں گی. آپ اپنے اگر مین اسکرین پہ جائیں گے تو یہ ایک ایپ ہے جس کو میں کلک کر کے آپ کو دکھاؤں گی کہ کس طریقے سے ان لوگوں نے کام کیا ہے اور آپ اس کو کس طریقے سے یوز کر سکتے ہیں. نوحہ رائٹ اپس پرو کی ایک نام سے یہ اس کا آئیکن ہے نوحہ کا، اور لیرکس، پھر مائی اکاؤنٹ، آپ اپنا اکاؤنٹ اس پہ بنا سکتے ہیں. آڈیوز ہیں یہ، اس میں آپ کو ریسائٹرز کے حساب سے ایک کالم ہے، اس میں آپ سارے ریسائٹرز کو دیکھ سکتے ہیں کہ کس نے دنیا بھر میں جو ہے وہ مجالس اور نوحے، اور تقریباً اس میں سارے نوحے، مرثیے اور ہر چیز آپ کو اس میں مل جائے گی. سوز سلام کے ساتھ منقبت، زیارات، بہت ہی خوبصورت کام کیا ہے ان لوگوں نے. تو اور بہت ہی یوزفل ہے. اس کے اندر آپ کو بچوں کے لیے میں بتا رہی ہوں کہ سارے اس میں لیرکس موجود ہیں. میرے خیال میں کئی ہزار اس کے اندر، مینی تھاؤزنڈ اس کے اندر نوحے اور منقبت، مناجات اور زیارات اور مرثیے موجود ہیں. یہ نوحے کی ایک فولڈر ہے جس میں تاریخ وار نوحوں کے حساب سے پوری ایک لسٹ ہے، جس میں آپ جا کے ڈھونڈ سکتے ہیں کہ کس کے بارے میں آپ کو پڑھنا ہے، اور وہ آپ اس کے بارے میں معلومات کر سکتے ہیں. میں آپ کو اس کو یوز کر کے بھی دکھاؤں گی. پہلے میں آپ کو اس کا انٹروڈکشن دے دوں. مرثیے، یہ پورے لسٹ ہے مرثیوں کی، جس کے ساتھ آپ دیکھ سکتے ہیں کہ پوری ڈیٹیل سے ہر ایک کے بارے میں 10 محرم، پورے سال، الوداعی، اربعین، عاشور، بی بی فاطمہ الزہرا سلام اللہ علیہا، بی بی سکینہ، بی بی سغرا، بی بی زینب، پھر چاند رات محرم، حضرت علی اکبر، حضرت قاسم، امام علی علیہ السلام، امام حسن حسین علیہ السلام، امام زین العابدین کربلا، محمد مصطفیٰ. یہ ڈیٹیل سے اس کی لسٹ ہے. اس کے بعد انہوں نے سلام کا ایک فولڈر رکھا ہے جس میں آپ کو سارے سلام ملیں گے. منقبت کا ایک فولڈر ہے. دعا ہے، دعائے امام زمانہ. زیارات، اس میں سورہ زیارت آل یاسین، زیارت عاشورہ، زیارت وارثہ. اعمال کا ایک ہے فولڈر جس میں اعمال آف وینسڈے ابھی تک ایڈ ہے. दूसरा एक आप अकाउंट बना सकते हैं इसके ऊपर अपनी ब्याज करके जो है, इसमें आप जो आपको पसंद है वो आप अपनी ब्याज में उसको सेलेक्ट करके लेकर आ सकते हैं, उसको सेव कर सकते हैं अपनी ब्याज या फेवरेट जैसे होता है अक्सर प्रोग्राम्स में। सबमिट लिरिक्स, इसमें अगर आप चाहते हैं वॉलंटियरी काम करना तो इसमें आप इसमें टाइप करके इंग्लिश में और लिरिक्स कर सकते हैं, कौन सी कैटेगरी में है, सलाम, मनक़बत या मरसिया या मुनाजात, टाइटल, सेलेक्ट पेज और उसके बाद आपका यूट्यूब लिंक और ये इसके लिरिक्स हैं। ये इनको आप कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, इनकी वेबसाइट है, यूट्यूब चैनल है, इंस्टाग्राम है, डोनेट कर सकते हैं, फेसबुक पेज है और आप इनको डायरेक्टली ईमेल भी कर सकते हैं। अब मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ कि इन्होंने कितना इम्पोर्टेंट काम किया और किस खूबसूरती के साथ इस ऐप को बनाने वालों ने आपके लिए एक सहूलत पेश की है। अली रज़ा रिजवी सच्चे साहब को हमने सेलेक्ट किया और बीबी सकीना। जब आप ये आइकॉन देखेंगे इसका मतलब है कि यहाँ पे ऑडियो भी इंक्लूड है। तो लेट्स सी कि इसमें क्या है। ये इस तरीके से आपको लिरिक्स मिल गए, ये एक प्ले का साइन है, ये इसका लिंक है। अगर आप प्ले करना चाहते हैं ये लिरिक्स हैं और ऑडियो यहाँ पर है। सिर्फ ऑडियो अगर आपको देखना है और आपको पढ़ना
So that was the talk and the video from Mrs. Nizar Hassan. Thank you very much. It was a very informative talk and also the video. I hope the audience find it useful and in the upcoming days of Muharram, they'll be able to use it, inshallah. I request Mrs. Amra to please invite our next participants, please.
ओके नुसरत, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। मुख्तसर सा वेरी कंप्लीट प्रेजेंटेशन। माशाल्लाह से इंशाल्लाह लोग जो है से फ़ायदा उठाएंगे ज़रूर और परवरदिगार आलम आपको और इसमें कोशिशों में और बरकत दे और कामयाबी दे। और एट दिस पॉइंट मैं दोबारा जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स यहाँ पे हैं और जो अटेंडीज हैं उनसे मैं गुजारिश करूंगी कि प्लीज़ आप अपने फ्रेंड्स को, अपनी फैमिलीज को, उनको ये IMI का जो ग्लोबल प्रोग्राम है जाएं, इसको देखें और इससे फ़ायदा उठाएं और वॉलंटियर करें। ये एक सदका जारिया होगा सबके लिए, आपके ख़ानदान के लिए, आपके बच्चों के लिए, आपके अपने लिए। इट्स अ वेरी गुड कॉज। तो थैंक यू सो मच। नेक्स्ट हमारी प्रेजेंटर जो है, शी इज़ अ वेरी यंग प्रेजेंटर, full of talent, and I really feel so blessed all the time when I look at my younger generation and they are doing such a fabulous job. Her name is Melanie Raza, and for her in such a young age she did so much that in such a short time I cannot give the details of all her achievements. She did her master's in May 2022 from George Washington University in Islamic Studies with concentration in Shia studies. Fabulous. Her thesis topic was the 12th Shia Imams, infallible or imaginary. She has many other publications. She is involved in various projects on Shiism and global affairs at Harvard University. She is a passionate writer and she is a very passionate poetry writer. And at this moment, I will not take much of your time. Please welcome Melanie Raza she's going to recite her own poetry in honor of Ahlul Bayt. So we'll start it with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajum. Eleni, over to you.
Thank you. And before I start, I would just like to thank Amra Auntie for her very kind words. Way too kind. Thank you so much, Jazakallah. And of course, IMI for inviting me to share my poem with everyone tonight. So, with the upcoming event of Muharram, right before, we have a few more days before the beginning of the month. So, I wanted to share this poem about the eve of Muharram, and I titled it The Call of Muharram. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The curtains of grief are slowly unfurling, each fold etched with the name of a martyr. Each play begins with the same scene, setting the backdrop for the plains of Karbala, as if the outcome won't be the same. Our hearts shake and tremble, remembering but begging for it to change, a shimmering quilt wrapped around the heart of every believer. As swords slash, heads roll over shoulders to graves unmarked. The cries of the audience outnumber the screams, louder than the knives running through the men's necks, faster than the wives fling themselves over their children, covering their eyes from the horror they cannot unsee. But soon, who will be left to protect the women of Karbala? Who will be left to defeat the tyrant's call to injustice? Again, the cries call out, begging for a change of scenery, each observer reaching for his sword, for any way to help. But the pages of history do not change. The tears only flow faster on the trail to Sham. The water that falls from their eyes comes too late to quench the throats of their fathers and their brothers. If the ground of Karbala was soaked with tears and blood, then the pens of Karbala runs red with the ink of martyrs. Each body a testament to the verse of purification, each cut head a signature on the scrolls of justice. Look down at your feet until you see the ground covered in their grace and beauty, the ultimate sacrifice for the master of the martyrs. As the scene unfolds, intense burn, the earth shakes, and children scream. What do you see except the face of Hussein? The face of Hussein shining, his light the hope within all the darkness of Karbala. The face of strength and faith. This is the lion that all other lions bow down to. This is the sword sent from the heavens to protect the prophetic message. This is the blood of Haydar al-Qarar purifying the sands of Karbala. Inside Hussein's body are ayats from the Quran, his bones carved from the scripture of Allah. With each martyr slain, Hussein's body grows weaker, while his faith grows stronger and his dhikr grows louder, until the scrolls of justice and tyranny are so clearly laid out. They either submit their head to the path of truth or throw themselves into the pits of hell. One by one, the petals of Zahra's garden are blown away in the wind of tyranny, until one flower remains standing above the rest. The strength of Ali runs through his veins, striking down each enemy with ease, until the Prophet arrives at his side once again. Imam Ali from Najaf and Lady Fatima from Medina. They lower Hussein to the ground one last time. Rows of prophets stand, they gather around that blessed body, with only enough breath to recite the words of Allah, when his lips can no longer move on their own. In unison we chant, Labaik Ya Hussein. Thank you all for listening. And thank you again to IMI for inviting me.
Jazakallah, Melanie. That was beautiful poetry, and every word was heart touching. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, Mrs. Anwar.
Thank you, Melanie, for such a heart touching. It was like those were the words coming out not from your tongue but coming out from your heart. It has all the expression and the feelings, and I think that is the best way we could be transit into at the time of Muharram. Thank you so much. I am really grateful for all the presenters for their time and beautiful presentation. A special thanks go to Varda. And this session will be incomplete if we don't mention the name of our global president of the Women Wing, Dr. Human Naqvi. She has a very dynamic personality and very inspirational, and she brings so many good thoughts that we the ladies whose minds are stagnant or getting rusty, she triggers their mind. So thank you, Dr. Human, so much for all all your inspiration and encouragement. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Amravaji. What a wonderful program. Jazakallah. Jazakallah. I was so excited to see the variety. And I'm first of all, thank you all of you to joining and participating so well. Alhamdulillah. That was the whole idea of this Imamia Medics International Women Wing, to bring all different talents to the platform. And Alhamdulillah, it seems like that with the help of all those wonderful ladies and our stalwart for this program, especially Mrs. Amra, we are able to bring all different talents. Alhamdulillah. So I'm very happy and
Cutting
very
your
glad
talk, it
and
was
thankful to all of you to participate. And I request everyone, each and every one of you, to please point out the hidden talents of our community, our surroundings, friends, and families, as Amra Baji is doing it, to bring it so we all know and share and benefit from that.
there are a
As
lot there when asked me,
Ji,
and it was like I start looking around, and
ji.
I was really like, there's so much talent over there. If
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you want to have it every once a
Yeah.
week, the girls are there, the ladies are there to participate. There's so much
Unbelievable.
there.
And yeah,
Unbelievable.
that's the whole
We
idea
never
that,
realized that. We never
yeah,
realized that. Yes.
Alhamdulillah. So we don't only want to give all the medical advices and prescriptions and therapies, but we like to explore the art and the culture and the beauty of our religion and everything. So I think it was a very nice, excellent program, and we look forward to many more of them. But as Varda mentioned in the beginning, that for the month of Ramazan, Muharram and Safar, we will hold these 2 months, and we'll restart once a month program of Tuesday reflection after the from the month of Rabiul Awwal. And few years ago, we did a mushaira, women's mushaira, which was very successful. So maybe in the month of Rabiul Awwal, we'll start with that. That is another great talent to show, inshallah. So all of you again, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And anytime you need any assistance or want to contact any one of us, please feel free to text or call us. So and to connect to grow this group. Jazakallah, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to also mention that a very special thanks goes to the media team of the IMI, who have successfully run this program throughout and have taken over the responsibility of all the technicalities. I thank Mrs. Amra from the core of my heart, Dr. Huma for all the guidance and all the inspiration throughout, and all the participants for taking out their precious time and giving to the community and spreading awareness. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope inshallah we meet again after Muharram and Safar in Rabiul Awwal with the same program on the last Tuesday of every month with the Women's Wing on Tuesday Reflections on IMI team. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Allah.
Yeah.